Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Essential Zodiac Podcast. I'm your host, Cynthia McNulty.
And I'm Audrey Fannin.
And I hope everyone had a great 4th of July. I know I did. It was great. Today we are going to be talking about the Capricorn full moon. I wanted to mention that I post the astrological forecast for every month on the first of the month. And you can find that on my website by clicking on the Sky Watch Journal. I also include monthly horoscopes for all the signs. However, if you want one that's more personal to you, using your natal information, that can be found under my services page. And you have two options. You can get a monthly report, or you could get a daily forecast report. If you have any questions, of course, you can always email me at ezpodcast@yahoo.com. You can start them at any point in the year, and you will receive 12 monthly installments.
And I'll say, I'm a long-time subscriber to your daily horoscope.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
It's just amazingly spot on.
Well, thank you. Yeah, of course I do them for myself. The astrologer needs to know what's going on. And every now and then it's like, ooh, wow. Yeah, I nailed that one. But thank you. Yes, it's good, a good planning tool for everybody out there.
Yeah. So, Cindy, what's going on in early July?
Oh, we've got some stuff going on here. Before we talk about Capricorn full moon, let's talk about Mars and Mercury. Now, Mars has entered Taurus, and Mercury is now in Cancer. Now, astrological tradition says that Mars isn't comfortable when he sets up shop in Taurus. Mars is a planet of action. Taurus is an earth sign, a fixed earth sign, which means that Taurus energy is stable. It's not spontaneous, and Mars really doesn't like that. But actually, it's good for Mars to be in Taurus because it slows Mars down. And you have the ability to really work through what you want to accomplish. So it doesn't mean that they can't work together. It just means that you have to work with the energy that you're given differently. So the key to success during Mars and Taurus is having solid roots before going into any new directions. Now, one of the things you want to be aware of, Taurus being a fixed sign can also be stubborn, right? Dig your heels in and not budge, even when you're presented with the fact that you're wrong. And of course, Mars, with that Martian aggression, do take a breath. You might be wrong on a particular point, so take a look at it before you dig your heels in.
A Taurus? Wrong? What?
Right. Our little Audrey here, if you couldn't tell, is a Taurus. So, and I'm a Leo, so we're both fixed signs, so I get her. When we dig our heels in, it takes a lot to budge. But eventually we do. Now with Mercury going through Cancer. Cancer is a gentle sign. If you remember from what we were talking about in the new moon in Cancer, Cancer is very nurturing. It's a water sign ruled by the moon. So it's emotional. We think about things on a deeper level when Mercury is in Cancer. It helps us say what we need to say with a softer touch. So that could also help the Mars and Taurus situation where Mercury will give you more diplomacy. It's not like Libra exactly, but it's a kinder, gentler kind of energy. We want to share ourselves more personally. We want to have, conversations with our loved ones that actually are important. Now, also, too, as a water sign, Cancer has good intuition. So during the 3 weeks that Mercury is in Cancer, if you feel your intuition being heightened, go with it because it is being heightened. Now, Mercury through Cancer doesn't erase Mercury's usual logic, but it expands it to include instincts and your gut feelings. This time, it gives us the heightened ability to draw necessary insights from sources you don't necessarily have access to at other times.
Become a patron of the Essential Zodiac podcast at the star level of $5 a month, and you'll get access to a private Facebook discussion forum. You'll also get early access to the monthly newsletter and access to the patron-only activity feed that features exclusive updates about new episodes and information about upcoming episodes or specialty topics. Visit essentialzodiac.com to learn more. Now back to you, Cindy.
Thank you, Audrey. Thank you. Now we'll be talking about our full moon in Capricorn. Now, I find this fascinating how all kinds of different religions think alike in a way. Everything has a complementary point. Now, the Capricorn full moon is called the buck moon. The Algonquin tribes originally called this full moon the buck moon because it was the period of summer when the deer grew their new antlers, and therefore, they shed their old and they grew their new. It's also referred to the thunder moon, especially for those of us who live in the South. We know about those late summer thunderstorms. I mean, they shake the house. I've had lightning hit my house. That was kind of like blew out all the electric. It was impressive, to say the least.
Yeah, that happened to us in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Shocking.
It's something else, yes. So it's nothing to fool with, I'll tell you that. So now that Letha, our summer solstice, has passed, we are halfway through our year. Now is the time to look back on our goals, especially for those of you who set them in January. You've been working on them for 6 months now. Some of us have set goals in the spring, and so you've been working on those for 3 or 4 months. So how are they going? Are they growing and thriving, or are you having issues? Now is the time to look at that. And it's also a time to reevaluate what is working. If you've set several goals for yourself and one is just not making any progress, it might be time to put that goal aside and either pick it up before the harvest season or to let it go until next year. I usually let it go until next year because I feel the divine is telling me it's not the right time. If nothing is happening, or if I've run into so many roadblocks, I'm getting a message from the universe and the divine is saying maybe next year. So instead of frustrating yourself, put it aside. So Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, which sets limits and boundaries for us, but it's how we learn. Capricorn itself is the symbol. It's like the sea goat, the mountain goat. And if you're familiar with those animals, they have knife-like hooves that help them dig in and climb the mountains that they live on. They are, if nothing, tenacious and persistent. Saturn, like I said, Saturn's realm is rules, limits, and structures. Now, Capricorn is a cardinal sign as well. So while it is limits and structures and boundaries, it's also initiatory energy too. It's also energy that does get things going, but in a particular framework. So unlike Aries, which is kind of a blast off cardinal energy, Capricorn has rules associated with it. It has a plan. So it has new energy happening, but in the framework of a plan of how am I going to do this? And it lays out the structure. Now, in general, full moons are a time to think about our journey, think about how far we've come. What do we need to do, to move forward? Full moons are a time of culmination because on the small scale, we're setting intentions at the new moon, and then hopefully they've manifested by the full moon. And if they haven't, again, it's one of those things, try next month or a couple of months down the road to see, when the time might be right for you to manifest your goal. Now, since 2020, making plans in life has gotten treacherous, I think, and not very easy. It's not as easy as it used to be because, we still have the specter of COVID hanging around. So, large crowds are still worrisome for some people. And even people who have been vaccinated and boosted and everything are getting sick. Not as badly, but they're still getting sick. So it's hard to feel like we've accomplished anything. But we have. Even though it may not be up to your usual standards, it's not a usual time. And any small victory we need to celebrate because we need to give ourselves hope, right? We don't want to wallow in depression and sadness. I mean, we need to, look for those small victories. So if you've been feeling, I've set these goals, but I've had all these obstacles, all these blockages, I'm just going to forget it. Don't do that because we have this Capricorn energy just waiting for us to use. And here are a few ways that I've outlined here for you guys to take advantage of. Take a look at these and we could get working again and we could get our goals working again. So design your dream, okay? Strong structures begin with a blueprint. So, list out what your goal or goals are. If you haven't mapped out your vision, now is the time to do it. Think about the milestones, though, that you've made. How are you going to approach this? Are you going to do it in several phases? So put together a blueprint or an outline or whatever it is to help you move forward in your goals. And also, too, I make checklists just to check off what I've done. It's a sense of accomplishment. So, that'll give you some joy when you see those tick marks going down and, you're getting something done. Watch the clock. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Another name is Cronus, Father Time. So we've had to make huge changes in our day-to-day world. Some of us are still working from home, or now we've tried to go back to work, to the office. Some of the kids stayed home with their parents. Parents decided to homeschool and not send them back to school. Some kids are in regular school. So, we were in hibernation mode for a very long time. And it's still, trying to shake it off and get going. So open up your calendar, have a look. reevaluate what's important. Sometimes we have to let things go so that, we can make room for other things. And I know, we don't want to stretch ourselves too thin because then nothing gets accomplished. And finally, start again. So if you stop doing your cardio every morning and your Peloton is an expensive coat rack, take the clothes off the Peloton and get on and go. Even if you do a 10-minute cycle just to get yourself back in the groove, or go walking, or whatever it is that you had set yourself up to do. Start again. There's no law that says you can't. I know a friend of mine, he wanted to start walking, and it was one thing after another. And he went and he got a dog.
Oh, perfect.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
Because every morning and every evening, the dog had to go walkies, and he went and, had to take the dog for a walk. And in addition to the companionship, he was a little rescue doggy, so he saved the dog from a terrible life. It's a win-win all around. I thought that was a very creative solution to a problem. I thought that was very cool. So just begin again right where you left off. Go back 2 spaces if you have to. But Capricorn energy is about taking careful steps up that, rocky hillside. So if you focus on the mountain, yes, it's going to seem daunting. But if you just take that first step, before you know it, you're where you need to be. Well, thank you all for tuning in. I always appreciate it. Our next episode will be about the new moon in Leo, and that will air on July 22nd. So until then, remember, with astrology, you can chart your life's course.
You can find the Essential Zodiac podcast on your favorite podcast players. You can help us reach more listeners by liking, subscribing, and commenting on the podcast. And of course, by sharing the podcast with your friends. Cindy is also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube as well. Have an astrology question for Cindy? Send an email to ezpodcast@yahoo.com. That's the letter E, the letter Z, podcast@yahoo.com. The Essential Zodiac podcast is recorded at Muddy Creek Studios.